What is going on, Sports Wars? We're here. We're a little late, but we are live for Against the Spread here on Wednesday nights. From the guys from sportspicks.locals.com. And Robert, how are you doing today?
Doing good. It was a fun, interesting week last week. Another profitable week, which we're still up over 50% at sportspicks.locals.com. So we'll see how the this week rolls out. Some interesting games on the calendar. You had a little midseason review of the NFL. We're getting towards the back end of college football as the playoffs start to shake out. So I think it'll be could be another interesting weekend. Maybe not as interesting as last weekend was in college football, but a lot. We're right down to the end stretch here.
It'd be tougher to be quite as interesting as it was with the matchups we had last week and the college football playoff implications for sure, but some good games nonetheless. Cody, how are you doing, man?
Doing well, doing very well. Excited to be here, as always.
Hell yeah. And Cricket, what about you? How are you doing?
What's going on, man? What's going on? Just talk about my bad beat for last week, man. I had LSU, Alabama under 56.5, and it's about 9-7, about 3.5 minutes left in the third quarter. They wind up tying up at 24 and going into overtime and getting me in overtime, man. So this is why we can't have nice things.
That's a pretty bad beat. You're right. That's a pretty bad one. Now, what would have been worse if it was like the 2-point conversion that did it? That if it was just that specific play, that'd be pretty rough.
I knew I was in trouble when they made the field goal to send it to OT. I knew I was in trouble.
Oh, yeah. Well, speaking of bad beats, Robert, what did you have? Do you have any bad beats on your radar from last week?
My bad beats were all in the political betting realm. So the some interesting turnout and some interesting places in surprising ways, but nothing particular on the sports side of the equation. It was mostly profitable. It's fascinating how Green Bay and Tampa Bay can't get off the schneid offensively. We'll see if that changes some this week, but no particularly bad beat this past week.
For me, it was the Titans. I had some money sprinkled on the money line there, a pretty hefty money line, and Travis Kelce can rip the helmet off the defender, and the penalty gets called on the defender, and they get a second chance at the 2-point conversion for overtime there. So that kind of killed me.
Yep,
and that'll do it. And Malik, what are your thoughts on Malik there, Cody? How do you think he fared?
I think he's terrible. As far as like football in the National Football League, you got to be able to throw the ball, and that's not something that he seems to be capable of thus far. So unless he gets it together there, I'm not really impressed with having him as our backup. I know he hadn't had a lot of time, so I know they said good things about him in preseason this year. So maybe he'll turn that around. But I think he definitely opens up the Henry more with when they drop back. They got to worry about 2 running games back there, but otherwise it's
he's a project.
As Green Bay has shown, if you're not able to throw the ball in the NFL, you're not going to make it very far.
Yeah, absolutely, that's true. But let's get to the games that we have going on this week. The Thursday night game, Falcons versus the troubled Carolina Panthers.
Yeah, who got whooped up by the Bungles. The Carolina's at home, and they're still 2.5-point underdogs. The tickets are about even currently. Total of 42.5, so they're predicting with slight tendency towards the under, understandably because of Carolina. Basically, Atlanta is expected to win 22-20. I probably don't have a strong lean on this game. Just if it gets to Carolina +3, I might lean Carolina. Might be a little bit of an overreaction from last week. Atlanta did start to get some offensive things clicking a little bit, but their defense continues to struggle. A.J. Terrell, as we discussed on Monday, is having a disaster of a season after having a great season last year, and he is a little banged up. So, but, it's P.J. Walker. Well, maybe it's back to Baker Mayfield. It's back to Baker Mayfield. Maybe Carolina +3 might be worth something if it gets that high.
Cordero Patterson is a monster. He's back, and they showed why they missed him while he was gone for sure. He's just a freak of nature. That one hit, did y'all see that? He just about knocked that linebacker out. Just pow! Ran him over to get in the end zone there. Insane. So look for him to continue to do well. Fantasy owners with him back. I still think that's going to balance out more, and Kyle Pitts is going to start getting more catches. He didn't really see a ton this week as he did the week before. But I still think that's going to start to balance out. But I like the Falcons here coming in and beating up on the Panthers. They're playing real well.
Yeah, I'm gonna look to the total in this one. This is the second time these teams have played in 3 weeks, and last time they had that crazy Hail Mary right at the end of the game where they covered one of my bad beats from a couple of weeks ago. Had the Falcons -4, and they wound up winning by 3 in overtime. The final of that game was 37-34, though. You got a division game. They're going to travel on the road. I expect Carolina to play pretty well at home. They have for the most part this year. And I see some scoring in this one. I really do. I expect them to get over. It's only sitting like 42.5 right now. So I expect them to have pretty good offensive showing on Thursday night. And I look for both these teams to get over the over right here.
Yeah, it's certainly going to be interesting. The Falcons team is fun to watch. And I did not expect to be thinking that halfway through the season with Marcus Mariota at quarterback. But they certainly are one of the more entertaining teams to watch. Not a shadow of a doubt. The first Sunday game, AM at 9:30, those early kickoffs in Munich this time, not in London, in Munich. Seahawks against the Buccaneers. Tom Brady coming off, getting a big monkey off his back, not just the divorce, but also that big comeback win.
Yeah, well, you look at, NFL Europe. Germany was one of the more popular places when NFL Europe existed. So Munich will probably be a packed house. They're playing in where Bayern Munich plays their games, the beautiful stadium. So we'll see how that translates. But, it's always a little weird when they go over to Europe. You don't know exactly how well each team is going to mentally adjust. Tampa's offense continues to underperform, not because of Tom Brady, but because they cannot run the ball at all. We'll see if that somehow changes. Usually teams fix that at some point mid-season in the NFL. Everybody's professional. Everybody's getting a big check to do so. Tampa's favored by 3. Expected score 24, between 24-20, 23-20, 24-21, depending on where you get the totals, 44, 44.5. The bets are coming in on Seattle. 2/3 of the money line bet tickets are cashing on Seattle. Most of about 63% so far of the spread tickets are on Seattle, and people are leaning under, which is interesting. Probably more of a reflection of Tampa than Seattle, because Seattle's been an over machine at times this year. And so I would say I'm not yet convinced that Geno Smith can, if you're somebody who is skeptical that Geno Smith can replicate his early success, then Tampa's probably the good bet here, especially if you think they'll fix their running game and get Tom Brady back to explosive pass plays. If you have doubts about either one of those occasions, you probably lay off the game. I would lean Tampa if I had a lean.
Yeah, I'm staying away from this altogether from every aspect. Yeah, and that's because the Bucs continue to underperform, and to me, the Seahawks continue to overperform. And I can't put my finger on necessarily why on the Seahawks, how they keep doing what they're doing. Geno's amazing completion percentage still boggles my mind. Every week it continues to hit those marks. And yeah, until the Bucs run game gets to where it's useful, I can't go anywhere near the Bucs either. So I'm staying away from this one altogether. And even from a fantasy standpoint, even though, early on I thought that Metcalf and Lockett would be terrible plays. That's not shown to be the case with Metcalf out. They've been able to hook up quite a bit and give him quite a few touchdowns, and he's been pretty good in fantasy. But still, for this, I'm staying away from this all the way around.
Yeah, I'm gonna look to the total in this one. I'm gonna go under the 44.5 right here. You're gonna have a lot of travel stuff. You're probably gonna have some fanfare stuff over there where they're trying to grow the game in Germany and stuff like that. These guys are gonna be not necessarily able to focus on just football for a little bit. They're gonna have some other stuff going on. These offenses, Seahawks offenses look good, but Tampa Bay's defense has looked far better than their offense has. Their offense has showed the ability to put up a lot of points. And I expect the defense to play well this week. I expect it to be a pretty close game. Vegas expects it to be that way. And I see these teams going under the 44.5. But a quick note in fantasy, somebody you can look at if you're maybe got some bye weeks going on. But Kate Otten, the tight end for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, put up a couple big games last couple weeks. It's starting to get some looks in this offense. Tom Brady's looking for him. So if you're looking for a plug and play type player because you got your tight end on a bye or something like that, Kate Otten is definitely somebody you can look at. But as far as the game goes, I think I'm going to lean under 44.5 right here.
The defense has been interesting for Tampa Bay because we're used in the Brady era here. We're used to that being very good. And although it's been, arguably better than their offense, which has been terrible, they've had some issues, specifically stopping the run. It seems like they've had issues, which you're not used to on that team, at least for this iteration of this Bucs team. Now they were able to handle the Rams because, let's face it, the Rams are probably the 31st worst rushing team behind only the Buccaneers. So we'll see what they do. Now, they've had injury problems. Rashad Penny obviously broke his leg and all that for the Seattle Seahawks. We'll see if they can rush the ball against that team. I think that'll be the big determining factor. If they can rush the ball and open things up for Geno and those wide receivers, we'll certainly see what happens. In the next game at 1 p.m., the 7-1 Vikings, Kirk Cousins, doing the dance shirtless, all that stuff. Unfortunately for me, he's going on the road this game, which isn't necessarily always Kirk's best thing, but he is going to a banged up Buffalo Bills team. Will Josh Allen be able to play is the question on a lot of people's minds.
Yeah. Is there any update on that?
He didn't practice. I think it looks to me
day to day right now. I think is what they're kind of going with.
It looks to me like they probably want to see if he can go, but I'd be very careful with that.
Interesting. Well, that obviously explains the line because it's one of the smallest Buffalo lines all year. Buffalo favored by 3.5 at home, total of 43.5. So basically, they're predicting 23-20 for Buffalo. So they're not expecting an explosive offensive game from Buffalo. Most of the tickets, probably also because of that injury news, is coming in on the Vikings. Almost 70% of the tickets on the spread are on the Vikings. Almost 90% of the money line is on tickets are on the Vikings. The total, everybody's betting the under, almost 70%. So basically, they're thinking no Josh Allen or a severely limited Josh Allen, but probably they're thinking no Josh Allen. And that's leading and feeding that. I would let people know that when backup QBs start for their first game, there's a long history of them covering the spread and the public overreacting to that news and information. So we'll see if that has an impact. I would definitely wait to see what the news is about Josh Allen on this spread, in all likelihood.
Yeah, I think Josh Allen changes this game tremendously from every standpoint. Without him, they're a totally different team. But I mean, we'll kind of see what they get. I'm interested in the. I guess it's going to come down to the battle of the brothers there. Dalvin Cook against his younger brother James, the backup running back there in Buffalo. And if Josh Allen can't go, I'm going to go with Dalvin Cook there, and the Minnesota. I think they cover.
Yeah, just reiterate what y'all said. If Josh Allen's not playing, I'm not touching this game. I don't know what I'm going to get if I don't have him at the helm. But if he does play, I'm going to take the Bills right here. They played really well at home this year. 5-1-1 against the spread in their last 7 home games, and 6-1-2 against the spread in their last 9 games following a straight up loss. And the Vikings are also 1-3-1 against the spread in their last 5 road games. So I like the Bills right here if Josh Allen goes. If Josh Allen doesn't go, I'm not touching this because you don't know what you're going to get. The Vikings obviously a very capable football team, and the Bills got they're great on the offensive side of the ball, great on the defensive side of the ball, but that all hinders on having the quarterback in the game. And if Josh Allen's not playing, I think you stay away from this one altogether. But if he does play, I'm going to take the Bills. Anything under a touchdown right here.
It's a tough game because you got the Josh Allen factor, but you also have the Kirk Cousins factor. Kirk Cousins, this team's looked really good, but Kirk Cousins, despite 7-1 record this year, you can't deny that in the past when he does get away from those home games, when he starts to screw up his routine, you never quite know what you're going to get. But a 3.5 spread against a 7-1 Vikings team, you could make the argument that might be what the spread is with Josh Allen, with the way that the Bills have played the last couple games. So it's definitely going to be one that everybody has to watch, and probably a lot of people are just going to stay away from. As soon as that gets announced, the spread will likely change one way or the other. Next game, this is the biggest matchup of the week, the big NFC North matchup between the 2-6 Lions and the 3-6 Chicago Bears.
The Bears await Detroit at home. They're favored by 3. Pretty high total for a Bears-Lions game, given preseason expectations of 48.5. Over 80% of the tickets are pouring in on the Bears after that good game against the Dolphins, where they only really lost on a blocked punt return for a touchdown. Arguably outplayed Tua there at Soldier Field. Back-to-back home games. Detroit, people aren't really buying into their season rejuvenation despite their effort against the Green Bay Packers, more seen as a weakness of the Packers. Clearly with these kind of odds, I don't have any strong. I would lean towards the under. Over 80% of the tickets are coming in on the over. Over 80% of every other ticket's coming in on the Bears, money line or points. I don't have a strong feel on that side, but I would have a lean towards the under just because I don't think the Bears are going to keep replicating those kind of offensive performances. And I think what we talked about back a ways, that the Belichick exposed aspects of Goff's offense, that I don't think that system can work consistently. And I don't think it will on the road in Chicago. I get that there's doubt about that Bears defense when they decided to gut it with some key trades. But not yet sold that this is going to be an over game despite Detroit's over tendencies for the season and the Bears over tendencies of late. If I have a lean, I lean under.
Yeah, I mean, I see the potential for the shootout if the Bears can replicate that offense, but I'm not sure they can as well. I'm with Bob there. I'm not positive that can continue. I mean, Justin Fields is not going to run 173 yards again. But it wasn't just a gut. I mean, their two best defensive players got traded away, and the over has tended to hit in these Lions games or this when they've scored when they didn't have all their players out. And so for that reason, I like the Lions in this game coming in and getting a road win here finally, and scoring some points on a depleted defense.
Yeah, I think Vegas is still locked in the first 3 or 4 weeks of the season where we saw these Lions team put up a lot of points and give up a lot of points, and they just haven't really. They keep putting these numbers really high. I mean, 48.5 seems like a really high number for me in this game, especially if you're coming off a 15-9 victory. You know, these numbers have been real high, and they really haven't come close to them in the last few weeks. I've been riding those lines over pretty hard and expect them to get there, and they're just not even close. So I'm going to lean under in this one. The under in the last 31 Bears home games, the under is 22-9, and the under is 7-3 in the last 10 meetings in this series. I expect it to be kind of a close game, kind of battling back and forth, but don't know what the weather's going to be like in Chicago. I mean, it's getting that time of year where it's really going to start mattering. The wind is going to be up there, maybe get some field goals missed and stuff like that. And missed field goals are key to unders, man. That's usually what can keep you under in those spots. So I just don't see these two teams getting over 48.5 right here. I don't think they're playing good enough football right now. If you got, Justin Fields running the ball and stuff, he's going to shorten the game up a lot, keep the clock running. So I'm going to go under 48.5 right here. I just don't see these two teams getting to that total.
Yeah, the Lions team put up a lot of points the first couple of weeks, but then their last 4, 0 points against the Patriots, 6 points against the Cowboys, did score 27 on a kind of bad Dolphins D, but then 15 against the Packers. So yeah, it certainly hasn't been that same, Jared Goff, he's got it again, he's ready to go. Has not been that. So I would expect that to hit the under probably. Now we go to, we had a week where we didn't have any Broncos country let's ride memes. Well, Russell Wilson will be back as the Broncos head to Tennessee to play the Titans.
Titans favored by 2.5 points, real low total, 36.5. Basically, they're expecting something like a 19-17 kind of game. The public is betting on the Broncos, 60% on the tickets, but 2/3 of the money line on the Titans. So it's basically whoever you like, you're splitting between either taking the money line or the points. Broncos fans like the points. Titans fans like the money line, and they love the under. Almost 80% of the tickets are on the under, despite it being 36.5 for an NFL game, probably due to the recent history of the Broncos all year and the Titans keeping Kansas City in check and playing it low scoring in back-to-back games against the Texans and the Chiefs on the road. If I had a lean in the game, I would lean over. I don't have a lean on the line or the money line.
With both Tannehill coming back and Trayvon Burks coming back from injury, I looked for the Titans to score some more points here. I like the Titans and the over here. And it'll be interesting to see what Trayvon Burks does coming back from this injury as well.
Yeah, but this is going to be my pick of the week for the NFL, man. I'm gonna take the Titans right here. Anything under a field goal, -2.5. I just really like what this team's been doing. I think this defense really showed up in the last month of the season, starting to get Derrick Henry rolling. Tannehill's going to be back and manage that offense a little bit better than Malik. I just like the Titans right here at home, giving up less than a field goal to a Broncos team that I haven't seen much out of all year long. They haven't shown me the ability to really take control of a game. Russell Wilson hasn't shown me that he's worth that $250 million or whatever they gave him. I don't care for this Broncos team. I think they got a lot of problems in the coaching staff. I think they got a lot of problems throughout that entire franchise. I just don't like what they're doing out there. So I'm going to take the Titans. Anything under a field goal right here, and this is going to be my pick of the week for the NFL.
Also, I think the Titans, I think it should be known, they should be 6-2. They beat the Kansas City Chiefs. And that play was ridiculous. You can't rip a defender's helmet off and call the penalty on the defender. It makes no sense. His grabbing him was he was allowed to do. He's within 5 yards. It was on the 2-yard line. So, right there in the front of the end zone, he's within those yards. He's allowed to have his hands on Kelsey. Kelsey rips his helmet off, and it's a penalty on the defender. And that's just bad refereeing. And it costs the Tennessee Titans a 6-2 right now.
The Chiefs would tell you scoreboard.
Probably. It's going to be interesting. Russell Wilson has had a tumultuous start to his season, to be sure. Now, 8 games in, trading away Chubb. It's kind of making it clear where the Broncos stand on that. So this will be the first time we see them on the field after that trade deadline. Then speaking of those Kansas City Chiefs, the Jaguars are heading to Kansas City to play the Chiefs.
Yeah, the Chiefs 9.5-point favorites. Given 80% of the tickets already coming in on the Chiefs, you can probably expect that spread to tick up to 10. A lot of the various teaser bets tend to influence those odds too. About 80% of the tickets on the Chiefs. Almost all the early money line action is on the Chiefs, despite them being about 450 favorites. The Jags are plus 340, pretty high in the NFL. Last week we gave out at Sports Picks the Jets at plus 400 against the Bills, and by golly, that cashed nicely. Public's about evenly split on the total, 50.5. So they're basically predicting something like a 30-20 kind of game. So they expect the Chiefs offense to bounce back despite last week, and they're expecting the Jags to kind of stagnate despite the fact that their record doesn't reflect the fact that their offense has actually performed pretty decent from a lot of statistical metric purposes. If I had a lean, probably towards the Jags. Don't know if I'll get to the window with it, though.
Yeah, I think that's a team that keeps continuing to play better and better, even though, again, it hasn't necessarily showed up in the WL column. Etienne, the trade of James Robinson opened it up for Etienne. He's dealing well since he's left. I just really like Trevor Lawrence to continue progressing and get better and better. 9.5 seems a little high for me, so I'm going to lean towards the Jaguars here.
Yeah, I'm going to look back at the total in this one. I just don't. I think this could be a closer game than people expect. That's a pretty big spread for the NFL right there. Especially Jaguars have been in most of their games this year. Tended to play pretty well on the road in spots. The Chiefs didn't show me a lot last week. I mean, playing against a backup quarterback in Tennessee. I don't know what's going on there. I think they do enough to win the games, but they haven't showed me that really game-breaking mentality to where they want to step on the throat and put them away late in the games, and I just haven't seen that from them. I think the Jaguars might have a chance to win this game. It might be one you want to sprinkle a little bit on the money line just because it's going to be pretty high. Like I said, plus 340, something like that. That's a huge number for the NFL. And so it might be something you want to think about, but I think 50.5 is a very high number. You're going to have to see some offense, and I don't know if the Jaguars can put enough of that offense together against that Chiefs defense. And the Jaguars defense has played pretty well this season as well. So I'm going to lean under the 50.5 right here. It's probably a game I stay away from because it just looks like a weird line to me. I don't know what I'm going to get out of the Chiefs or out of the Jaguars for that matter. But I just see these two teams together kind of butting heads. Man, I think it's going to be a closer game than Vegas expects. And I'm going to go under the 50.5 right here.
Karma's coming Chiefs' way too.
Yeah, that certainly was not an impressive victory, and at times we've seen that with they got it done on the legs of Patrick Mahomes, nonetheless, seemingly at times, but they were able to get it done. The Jags have been a little bit disappointing to me since those first couple games. Those first couple games, I really thought that they were ready to Trevor Lawrence ready to take the next step. This offense looked like it was rocking, and then they went. It's like 5 games in a row or something like that. So hopefully, I think that the league would be much more interested if the Jaguars could get it rolling down there. I think it's an interesting team with Doug Peterson back at the helm and with Trevor Lawrence at quarterback for sure. The Browns, the 3-5 Browns, inching closer and closer each week to getting their quarterback back, or the quarterback they paid all that money to, against the quarterback who's getting a lot of love right now in Tua with the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah, this may be a response to the Browns-Bengals game, but Browns getting a lot of respect from Vegas now because the Browns traveling to Miami, and Miami only favored by 3.5. The public leans Miami heavily on the money line, a little bit less so on the spread. Total of 48.5. So they're predicting something like a 26-23 kind of game, somewhere in that neighborhood. The public is hammering the over because most likely the recent trend in Dolphins games of going over, almost 80% of the money pouring in on the 48.5, ticking upwards. I don't have a strong feel on this game, a strong lean on this game in either direction myself.
I don't either. Those Dolphins receivers are killing it though. Waddle and Hill. Hill already has a season's worth of stats for a wide receiver. I think he's over 70-something receptions, 1,100 yards. Limited on the touchdowns. Waddle's got most of them. He's only got 3 touchdowns, I believe. But just absurd numbers from a wide receiver from week 9 of the season.
Wow.
Yeah, I like the Dolphins here, man. I really do. I think it's sitting at 3.5. I'll probably buy it down to a field goal. But when Tua, that's a different team. When Tua's out there playing, they just look good. That offense runs very smooth through him. Like I said, I think it's a little bit of an overreaction from the Browns' win over the Bengals when the Bengals just played terrible in that game. And they really smacked him in the mouth and looked good in that game. But it's tough to go play down to Miami right now. I mean, you just asked the Bills. They went down there and took an L in their column. And I just like what the Dolphins can do with Tua on the field. I think it's a really good team. I think this is a team that can actually compete for the Super Bowl given the right opportunities. But I got to go with the Dolphins right here. I really do. I think that they're going to handle business this week. And I see anything under a touchdown, I'm okay with the Dolphins right now.
The other thing to note is Jacoby Brissett has really played better and better each week as well. And that run team, if they can get ahead and get a lead early, that run team between Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt can really close the door quickly on other teams. So something to look out for if you are looking at the Dolphins.
Yeah, Brissett's just taking better care of the football, man. He made some really bonehead plays early on that really cost them some games in spots, and like he's just started being more efficient with the football because he doesn't have to make a lot of crazy plays for them to win the game. Give it to Chubb, run it through him, shorten the game up some, and give the other team less offensive possessions, and that's how they're going to win the football game. You don't want Jacoby Brissett to have to take over and win the game for you because he's clearly shown that he's not very capable of doing that.
You don't want to put in a situation where Jacoby Brissett is throwing in the last 2 minutes of the game to get you down to field goal range. He's thrown like 3 straight picks in those situations this season. Now their losses, to be fair, like when you look at their losses, lost to the Jets by 1, lost to the Falcons by 3, lost to the Chargers by 2. Now they did, get blown out by the Patriots, but lost to the Ravens by 3. All these losses, they are keeping it close. Miami does look pretty impressive.
That Jets game, they gave up 2 touchdowns in the last 2 minutes of the game too. That was the craziest game of the year so far, really.
Rough
craziest
loss
week
for them
too, probably.
Right.
Another 1 p.m. game. We got the 1-6 Houston Texans against the 6-2 Giants. See if the Giants can keep their momentum going off a bye week.
So, the Texans travel to New York. New York favored by 5. Money's evenly split, both in the money line and in terms of the points and the spread. Total of 40.5. Not unexpected, given neither offense really inspires much confidence. But the public thinks it's going to go over 85%, leaning over in the game. I don't have a strong side to recommend. I leaned in a direction it might be under just because neither one of these offenses have shown any consistent ability. And at times, both defenses have been decent.
I like the Giants at home here, minus 5.5, right? I think up to a touchdown, I like it. The Texans just are bad. Saquon is kind of back, and Danny Dimes is not as terrible as I thought he was. So both these teams I thought were going to be horrible at the beginning of the year. Only one has proven me right, and that's the Houston Texans.
Yeah, I like the Giants right here. I'm anxious to see this game. I want to see them come back off the bye, see what they, how they're going to respond. The Texans, like you said, are just terrible, Cody. I mean, I don't disagree with you there. They have played pretty bad. They looked decent early on in the first couple of weeks of the season, but that defense has really fell off the last month or so. And I love Brian Daboll. I love what he's doing with that team, really putting his team in a position to win, running that offense through Saquon, not making Danny Dimes have to win it for them. And I think he plays much better when he doesn't have to be that guy. So I like the Giants right here. Since they got it at home, man, anything under a touchdown I'm okay with. Probably not going to touch it. Don't have a strong lean. But if I do have a lean, I'm going to lean toward the Giants right here.
Yeah, I don't know what to expect out of these Giants. I really, really don't. They're 6-2, but they don't feel like a 6-2 team.
We thought for sure they'd be 2-6 right now instead.
Yeah, I really, really did. We'll see if Saquon keeps up that momentum. 1 p.m., the Saints heading to the 2-6 Pittsburgh Steelers.
Saints coming off that Monday night loss to the Baltimore Ravens, the Dirty Birds at home. The Steelers are underdogs at home. Nobody believes in them. Nobody has any confidence in them. Plus 1.5, but the public does. About more than 60% of the early tickets are betting on the black and gold to hold court at Heinz Field. And about 90% of the Steeler gamblers are betting on the Steelers on the money line. The total of 40.5, so they're basically thinking 21-19, something like that. The public's hammering the under because they don't think either one of these teams can consistently score in this situation. If I don't have a strong lean on the spread or the money line, I might lean a little bit towards the over if I think the Saints offense can get back off the schneid from the Ravens game.
Yeah, and I think they can. And I think that's what this is, an overreaction to that game and them not being able to score. Previous to this, Dalton was putting up 30 points per game, or they were with him under center. I don't think the Steelers can score. They're not very good after trading away Clay. The one thing for fantasy owners is I'm drawing a blank on the name. Your guy from early on.
You mean it's with the Bears now?
Pickens.
Oh, George Pickens doing very well, but
George Pickens will do a lot better now with Claypool.
Chase Claypool.
The Bears.
Yeah.
Chase Claypool, with him going to the Bears, Pickens will I think his fantasy value has gone way up.
Yeah, I don't think people realize how much better that Baltimore Ravens defense got when they added Roquan Smith. I think he's very undervalued right now. I mean, it's hard to say when the leading tackle in the NFL is undervalued, but I don't think they realize what you could do with that defense after you added him. And that's part of the reason the Saints struggled so bad in that Monday night game. I think this is overreaction. I like the Saints right here. I think the Steelers are just garbage right now, man. They can't do a lot offensively. The defense does not look great. I mean, they're capable of doing something, but I like the Saints. If I got to pick Andy Dalton or Kenny Pickett, I'm going to take Andy Dalton right now. I like how they're getting Kamara involved in the offense. Thought they should have got him a little bit more involved the other night against Baltimore, but like I said, that could say that speaks volumes to what that Baltimore defense can do. And I just like the Saints right here. I don't have a lot of faith in the Steelers, and it makes me feel better that the public's all over them, because I think the Saints go up there and win this by a touchdown or more.
Yeah, the Saints with the Jameis Winston, the Andy Dalton, the Taysom Hill, the what are you going to get each and every week? It's so inconsistent, and it's just such a far cry from the Saints team that we've been expecting. On Monday, we talked a lot about Michael Thomas and his injuries and how it's just he's never seems to be like he's going to be able to get right this season either. Looks like he's probably out, so it's unfortunate, but that's what you're dealing with right now for the Saints.
I think Michael Thomas's best days are behind him, without a doubt.
Well, considering he had a season where he caught like 150 passes, pretty
just set the record.
Yeah, pretty safe to say. And since that season, he hasn't been right. Because I think that it was the next season where he got injured. Now, speaking of a team that has not been right, the Indianapolis Colts, with new head coach Jeff Saturday coming in to Las Vegas to play the Raiders.
Yeah, interesting choice. I was a big Frank Reich fan, so this, he did a lot with being given a lot there with all, backup QB after one and done QB kind of rotation there. I'm not sure Jim Irsay's made the right decision. I like Jeff Saturday, but Saturday himself was like, "Why are you hiring me?" So we'll see how that translates. Vegas favored by 6. Vegas is, Josh McDaniels setting his old Denver Broncos style records. I think he's lost 3 games this year after leading by 17 points in a game. The public doesn't have any confidence in these Colts. What they've struggled without, Matt Ryan wasn't playing great, but quite frankly, his replacement's been worse. And so you have about 2/3 of the bets on the Raiders, even though the Raiders are favored by 6 at home, total of 42.5, pretty low. But the public apparently doesn't think Indy can score at all and has 80% of the tickets coming in on the under. They're basically predicting something like a 24-17 kind of game. I can see the logic for that kind of game. So I don't have a strong lean on the total or on the spread because I don't have a great dig. I have no idea what we're going to get from Jeff Saturday's Colts, so I'll probably lay off this one.
Yeah, and that's kind of the worry. You don't know what he's going to be able to come in there and fix, and how quickly, and if anything at all. Before him coming in, they were near last in every offensive statistical category, but they did have a 5th-rated defense, which is pretty impressive for that team. And so for that reason, you may take a look at the under, but there's so many unknowns. I'm just staying away from it altogether.
Yeah, I'm with you guys. Like I said, if I have a lean, I'm gonna lean under just because of what I've seen out of these offenses so far this season. And the Colts defense has played very well. I know Saturday coming in, maybe he livens those players up some, but I don't see him really ignite. I know he's an offensive guy, but he's also a center. And I don't see him really igniting this offense to get them fired up to play. I don't know that he has the players around him or the quarterback for that matter to be able to light this offense on fire, no matter who you are. So I think, like I said, I'm going to sit back and watch it and see what we get out of this team. But if I got to lean at all, I got to lean under the 42.5.
I think they're going to run the ball a lot. That's my guess with Jeff Saturday up there. He never let him run the ball when Peyton was there. He's going to run the ball now. The feeling I get with the Jeff Saturday thing is it's almost like Jim Irsay wants somebody he can trust there to just tell him about everybody, to just tell him about everything that's going on between the walls, about all the coaches, all the players, what everybody's saying. That almost seems to be the play from Irsay, kind of just saying, this season's done. So let me get a guy in there to determine who I'm going to keep and who I'm going to let go. Kind of what it feels like. But who knows with that guy. So afternoon game 425, the Dallas Cowboys and head coach Mike McCarthy are heading to Green Bay. I think this is Mike McCarthy's return to Green Bay for the first time since his not so graceful exit from there.
Aaron Rodgers is playing, right? He's not out of this game, right?
Oh, he's playing. He's playing.
He's got a questionable tag, but he's going to play.
He'll definitely try to play against McCarthy to make a point. The Packers are 5-point underdogs at home in Green Bay. I mean, there's been some famous games between Dallas and Green Bay going back to the Ice Bowl some years ago. Despite Dallas being 5-point road favorites at Green Bay, with McCarthy coming back into town and Rodgers having maybe justifiable cause to want to put up a number on him. The 3/4 of the tickets are on the Cowboys, and 3/4 of the money line tickets are on the Cowboys. They're just pouring it in. Packers plus 200 at home against the Cowboys. That's a shocking spread in the Aaron Rodgers era. I don't know if I've ever seen anything like it. The total of 43, so pretty low total. Understandable because Packers offense can't get anything going. It's why the spread is where it is as well. So basically they're predicting something like the Cowboys win 24-19, something in that neighborhood, 23-18, somewhere on there. And so the total is about evenly bet either way. I would say it all depends on where you are with the Packers. If you think the Packers offense can finally find Aaron Rodgers magic, then both the Packers money line, and the over would all look good in that scenario. I'd have to say I do lean Packers getting this many points at home.
Yeah, naturally, just because he's been so good for so long, it's just really hard. I mean, he's 7-2 against the Cowboys, thrown for over 2,000 yards in those games, 11 touchdowns, just one interception. He's tended to own the Cowboys during his time in the NFL. It's really hard to say, man. I mean, if he can't win these games, it's at a certain point, one would think we'd be over and have to give up on Aaron Rodgers, but I'm not quite sure I'm ready to do it. Now's the week he comes his back. This is the week that Rodgers magic comes back to life, and I think sprinkling some money on the Green Bay money line here is a good idea.
Yeah, I think I've been saying this for about a month now. This is the week the Packers get it back on track. I think I've been all about this for a while now. But like you said, you got McCarthy coming back. I think Aaron Rodgers gets a little inspired. He's been listening to people bash him all week long on social media and in the media all over the place. So he's heard a lot of that. He's still capable of playing, man. He's got to find some weapons in that offense. They got to, Aaron Jones is questionable. Had a little ankle injury, went out in the third quarter last week, but you got a capable backup in A.J. Dillon if he can't go. And it does change that offense a little bit. They have to focus on him a little bit more, get him the ball more, and try to get him rolling in the running game. Maybe that opens some things up for that passing offense. Not really sure, but I just think 5 points is too many right here. I don't see either team win this game by more than a field goal. It's going to be right at freezing, right around kickoff. And it's actually going to go under that once the game goes on. So, you got a team like the Cowboys used to playing in a dome and that sort of thing. Maybe the elements give them a little bit of trouble. So I'm going to take the Packers plus the 5 right here. I think anything over a field goal is too much for either one of these teams.
Yeah, my free bet of the week is the Packers plus 5 at home in Lambeau.
There you go. Yeah, that's a big spread for Dallas right now. 4.5 or 5 points, like on the road in Lambeau. Aaron Rodgers is not the same guy. This offense is not the same, but still, it's a tough pill to swallow. That's a lot of points at Lambeau. Now the Cardinals, who have been so inconsistent this year, consistently inconsistent, against another inconsistent NFC West team in the Los Angeles Rams.
The Rams favored by 1.5 at home in LA. total of 41.5. So they're basically predicting a 21-20 score. It's another game where we have a really low total for the NFL due to some early under trends. And both of these offenses, especially underperforming and underachieving a large part of the season. Once Arizona had DeAndre Hopkins back, they had 2 good games until last week, played poorly at home against Seattle. The public likes Arizona on the money line, but otherwise no strong favorite on the spread. They like the under because they don't think either offense can generate points any more than they've done all year on a consistent basis. That's a real low total, 70% of the tickets on the under. If I had a lean in the game, it would be towards the over, believing that at some point these offenses do start clicking, especially with DeAndre Hopkins back in Arizona.
Yeah, he had 40-something yards and a touchdown last week. He just couldn't get up to 80 and win me all the money that I needed because I got Cooper Kupp the yards and the touchdown there. But anyways, I digress. Both quarterbacks are on the injury report. Matthew Stafford's under the concussion protocol. And
who's the backup in L.A.?
Ooh, I'm not even sure.
Let me take a look while you guys talk about it. I'll find it.
Good question.
But Murray's been hampered by a hamstring injury, and they're not. He's probably going to play, but they're not sure about it. And I think that was he was a little banged up last week, and that's kind of what some of the play was. Poor play was from that. So that also I think just kind of is part of the reason for that low total. But if you have one or both of these guys missing, I'm not sure where I look. I want to see who those backups are, I suppose. But being that low, you might want to look at that anyways. The backup quarterback.
John Wolford is the backup quarterback.
I have no idea who that guy is.
He's out of Wake Forest.
Old man Wolford's boy.
He might be better than Matt Stafford the way Stafford's played this year.
Right.
He looks kind of like Sean McVay.
Cloning them out there. Yeah, who would have thought, man, at the beginning of the season that the Rams-Cardinals total would be under 44? I think it opened at 44, down to about 41.5. We would expect this to be a much higher scoring affair, probably for also expected to be for the division lead at this point in time. But you got the old lowly Seahawks just sitting there biding their time, watching these other two teams beat each other up. I think I'm going to lean with the Rams here just because it's a home game, and I'm probably not going to touch it. Want to sit back and watch it and see because neither one of these offenses seems to be able to get clicking at any given time. They show some bright spots, but
what if Stafford doesn't play and Murray does? Are you going to take Wolford over Murray?
Oh, absolutely not. Absolutely not. That'd be all the more reason not to touch it, I guess. But yeah, I think I want to sit back and watch this one as a fan, man. But if I'm going to lean, I guess I'm going to lean with the Rams under a field goal at home, just because. I'm not putting $1 on it, but just in case.
Yeah, John, I even forget his name now. John Wolford. We'll see. I don't think that's going to go well for the Rams, even if they do have to go to him, as bad as Stafford's played this year. Now the Sunday night game, the LA Chargers against the 49ers. I'm looking forward to this game. I think it's going to be good.
Yeah, finally a good night game. We've had some real snoreboards and some other ones. Though the Titans game ended up being exciting, but it was, beforehand, 14-point spread wasn't expected to be with Tannehill out at game time. So the 49ers favored by 7, total of 45.5. They're basically predicting 26-19 for the 49ers. 60% of the tickets coming in on the Chargers. Money line money coming in on each side, even though Chargers are a much bigger dog at about plus 250. Money leans under, but not by a big number, only about a little less than 60%. My read on this would be to lean actually towards, with the public on this one, to lean towards the Chargers at San Fran catching a whole touchdown.
Yeah, a touchdown seems like a lot here. I know the 49ers defense is only allowing 18 points per game, and the Chargers are allowing 24. Maybe that's where that's coming into play, but that just seems like a lot. So I really like the Chargers here as well.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Chargers. Touchdown seems like way too much for either one of these teams. And given the spot, I like what the 49ers are doing in their offense, starting to get McCaffrey involved and stuff like that. Don't put too much pressure on Jimmy G. So I like what they do, but I also like, the Chargers had a lot of injuries at the wide receiver position. Keenan Allen's been out most of the year. Mike Williams has been down the last few weeks, but Josh Palmer really stepped up last week and filled in pretty admirably for those guys. You got Gerald Everett at the tight end position, obviously Eckler running the ball. I just think 7's too much right here. I like the Chargers. I think I wouldn't even be mad at sprinkling some money on the money line on the Chargers right here, because I think they do go to San Francisco and get the win. I feel very confident they keep it within at least a touchdown. So I'm going to take the Chargers plus 7 right here.
Yeah, I think the addition of CMC to this San Francisco offense could be the thing that they've been looking for. If you stay healthy, that's been their problem. They can't stay healthy at running back. They're always having problems. And man, he can bring a lot to this team. We've already seen that in the short time that he's been there. So I'm looking for this is my game that I'm looking forward to the most this week, not a doubt about it. And then the Monday night game. I don't know if this is interesting to people particularly, but it is an NFC East matchup. It's going to be the Commanders, the struggling 4-5 Commanders, against the undefeated Philadelphia Eagles. Maybe this is finally the time that somebody catches the Eagles napping.
Yeah, we'll see. Vegas doesn't think so. They have put Eagles in at 10.5-point favorites, total of 44. So they're basically predicting something like a 27-17 kind of score. Not a lot of confidence in the Washington offense, and a lot of confidence, understandably so, in the undefeated Eagles playing at home under the lights. The public actually loves Washington getting that many points. Then it leans towards the under. My own view, I don't think I'd touch this game. I don't have any confidence in the commies. And as to the Eagles, they've continued to perform well, and I don't know if this is a place where they actually get caught. I think they will get caught at some point. I don't think they're so overwhelming they'll go undefeated, but I just don't think this division rivalry will be that game.
Yeah, Washington, again, a team that has been terrible. Antonio Gibson's done really well for them, but Heineke's hit the over in the interceptions in 8 of his last 10 games. This is not a team that does very well on offense at all. I do expect Philadelphia to leave this week being the only undefeated team still at 9-0. But aside from that, that spread's probably about where it should be, so I'm not looking too far into that.
Yeah, I like the Eagles right here. They've played pretty well under these primetime lights this year. You know, I feel like the game they're going to slip up is going to be one of those 1 o'clock games when they're on the road somewhere and just not really motivated to go out there and really show up. But I think right here in a division game at home with everybody watching, I just love what I've seen out of this defense. I think they're going to give Taylor Heineke and company a whole lot of trouble, maybe be able to keep a lot of pressure on him, really change that defense, adding Robert Quinn. You know, they look good. They just look good to me. And I think this is a 2-touchdown victory. Maybe it's close in the first half, but I expect the Eagles to really salt this one away down the stretch.
Yeah, I think they're going to stay undefeated. Taylor Heineke does like to hang around. It's what this guy does. It's what he's done basically every time he gets an opportunity. He hangs around, finds a way to do it. But at the end of the day, I do think the Eagles are going to keep on keeping on, at least in this game. And that's all of our NFL picks. It's all the NFL updates that we do have. Now it's time to move on to some college football. Like we talked about before, college football was a crazy week last week. We knew it was going to be very important with a lot of this stuff going down with the Alabama-LSU game, with the Georgia-Tennessee game. I don't think we really expected Notre Dame-Clemson to come into it the way that it did, but it certainly did, affected the college football playoff. Well, now we have some other big games this week that might do the very same thing. Speaking of in the SEC, Alabama coming off that loss to LSU. Still, you know, if things do maybe go a certain way, like a 1% chance they could make their way into that SEC title game. A lot of things would have to go crazy, but they are playing Ole Miss, and that would be the first step in the process.
Yeah, another big road game for Alabama. Alabama has not been good on the road, especially in national TV games over the last 2 years in the Bryce Young era, failing to cover and probably should have lost at Florida last year, a bad Florida team. Needing a couple of overtimes to pull off the win in the Iron Bowl against a bad Auburn team last season. Losing to Texas A&M is a big favorite on the road last year. Almost losing to Texas this year on the road. Played well against Arkansas, but then, of course, turned around and lost to Tennessee and now lost to LSU. Now they go to Oxford, Mississippi in the cocktail party, and they are favored by double digits once again, 11.5 points. Total at 64.5. So they're basically predicting a high-scoring game between these two. Something they're thinking Alabama's going to put up in the high 30s, and that Ole Miss will do a decent number on its own accord. 85% of the bets are coming in on the spread on Ole Miss. 70% of the money line at plus 350 is coming in on Ole Miss. 2/3 of the money is coming in on the over. What does that usually mean? It means Vegas thinks Alabama's going to win with ease, but actually be a lower scoring game when the line is not moving and the spread's not moving and the money line's not moving and the total's not moving, and yet the public's hammering one side of the equation. And there's a tendency here in Vegas to fade the public dog. Big, heavily bet public underdogs tend not to do well over time against the spread. So it'll be interesting. I would lean Alabama just because I think the matchup is poor for Ole Miss. Ole Miss has had an erratic passing game, relies kind of like Tennessee and Georgia, just a bad matchup for Tennessee. Similar here. Ole Miss is a team that needs to run the ball, can't reliably throw the ball. Alabama's been very good against the run. It's been sketchy against good passing teams. And last year they completely shut down, frankly, a more talented Ole Miss offense with Matt Corral. And so I think they're going to shut Ole Miss down as well. And then that puts Ole Miss defense on the line. And Ole Miss's defense, after playing a cupcake schedule to start the season, has been getting torched, as LSU did a couple of weeks ago. I think Alabama and Bryce Young does the same thing. A lot of pressure on them to bounce back. Those coaches and coordinators all know they're playing for their jobs. If they don't start turning the ship around real fast in Alabama, they're going to be getting pink slipped, including Bill O'Brien and from Tuscaloosa. They may still get pink slipped, given the statements that Nick Saban made. So I would actually lean in this game, Alabama in the under.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. You don't really see Alabama play this many close games in a single year, much less have 3 losses. So I don't see that coming this week for Alabama. I see them kind of winning with relative ease this week.
Yeah, I'm going to look at the total. I'm going to go under right here. I think when Ole Miss really gets rolling the offense, like I said, they establish the run game, establish the line of scrimmage, and Alabama's front seven is really strong on the defensive side of the ball. They've really struggled in the secondary, and spots have really been roasted there. But I don't think Jackson Dart can do what some of these other quarterbacks. I think Jalen Daniels and Hendon Hooker are obviously much better quarterbacks than Jackson Dart. He just hasn't shown the ability to take over those games. And when they're really playing well is when they get that running game rolling. I don't think they're able to do that this week. But you got Alabama on the other side. They're also shooting themselves in the foot constantly with penalties and things like that. Now, granted, traveling to Oxford is not – I know it's going to be a pretty hostile environment, but it's not Tiger Stadium. It's not what you're dealing with last week. It's also a 3:30 kickoff. You don't have the nighttime stuff to deal with. So I think this game is I could totally see Alabama blowing the doors off, but how motivated are they? You know, they don't really feel like they have as much to play for. All their preseason goals are pretty much out the window. They're always shooting for SEC title and a national title. So I don't know how motivated are these kids to come out and really turn it on. So I look for this to be kind of a closer game early on. Maybe Alabama gets the cover late or something like that. But I don't see these two teams getting over the 64.5 because offensively they've just struggled in spots, especially in clutch spots. And I think it's going to be close early on. And I expect some turnovers, some things like that. Bryce Young's Bryce Young. But I expect Alabama to be able to salt it away toward the end, but I don't see him getting over the total right here.
Now, speaking of the SEC, let's stay there to the team that had the win in the game that they were looking forward to, that big match between Tennessee and Georgia. Well, Georgia has to travel to Mississippi State.
That's Georgia's, expected to just roll through, including to the SEC title game and likely dominate the SEC title game. So this is one of those tricky trap game challenges. They're favored though by 16, and the public's still on Georgia. About 60% of the money, all the money lines on Georgia. They're 10-1 favorites. Mississippi State's plus 560. So if you like long shot bets, they might be tempting on the money line. Total of 53.5 is because Mississippi State's offense has struggled at times, including only 6 points against Alabama a few weeks ago. Struggled against Kentucky. So they're basically predicting something like a 35-17, 35-18 kind of game. So they're not expecting Georgia to go crazy offensively, but they're definitely not expecting Mississippi State to do much at all. The Georgia may match up very well with them. So, it's not a game I would be, my power ratings have Georgia favored by 17 in this game. So it's not a game I'm probably going to get near. The public's hitting the over about 2/3 early. If anything, you might lean under just because Georgia doesn't always explode offensively, and they will sit on the ball like they did against Tennessee if they get a lead. And Mississippi State has a decent defense. Not always played up to that level this season, but definitely has the capability to keep things in check. And their offense has struggled. Mike Leach's offense struggled badly against very disciplined tackling teams, and that's Georgia, so that might lean the under in this game.
Yeah, I agree with that. I like the under. Georgia has shown themselves to be the best team in the country. Sorry, I'm having difficulty not laughing right now. Somebody in the thread here said that cricket sounds like the state of Alabama, and that cracks me up. But anyways, but yeah, I like Georgia in this game to roll. They showed me last week against Tennessee they're the best team in the country. Also, in regards to last week, I have to go ahead and give cricket his props. He won $20 off me picking Notre Dame over Clemson.
That's right.
Thankfully, that was paid for by the great picks by Bob there. Thanks for Michigan State there. Big win. Yeah.
Yeah, man. I want to stay away from this game. I really do. I am born and raised in the South, guys. So, yes, I have a strong Southern draw. But, yeah, Mississippi State could come out. Georgia really struggled at Missouri in that road game. Could they do it again? I don't think so. I think they got enough. They know what they're playing for right now. I could see them covering it late or something like that, but I can also see Mississippi State giving them some trouble. I'm going to stay away from this. I want to watch it and see what they do. They got to lose twice for us to get this title game, so it's kind of hard to. I kind of just want to rematch in the playoff now. I just want to try to stick back in there and get another shot at them in a dome, maybe outside of some driving rain. But they're the best team in the country, point blank, period. So until proven otherwise, they're the champs till they ain't.
Yeah, it just does seem, especially with that win against Tennessee, they've proven that they're at another level, at least with everything else we've seen so far this year. Now heading all the way out to the West Coast for the Pac-12, a big game here. Oregon's looking to stay undefeated in Pac-12 play, with their only loss being that opening game against Georgia. And they got Washington coming into town.
Yeah, you got 3 Pac-12 teams alive for maybe that last playoff shot: Oregon, UCLA, and USC. This is probably one of the biggest and key games for Oregon down the stretch. Favored by 13.5 points at home in Eugene with a 7 o'clock nighttime kickoff. Total is 72.5. So they're expecting a classic Pac-12 lot of points. And 2/3 of the money still on the over. 3/4 of the tickets are on Oregon. Almost all of the money line money as a big favorite on Oregon. So Washington plus 400 on the money line, plus 13.5 or plus 14. It probably will hit 14 by game time. And basically they're predicting something like a 42 to 28, 43 to 49, something like that kind of score. Understandably so, because Oregon's offense has been clicking in the second since they got away from playing Georgia. In Washington, at times, their defense has been very specious. But that is a high total to take, though generally high totals tend to go over, just like low totals tend to go under. So we'll see how that goes. But if I had to lean, I would lean towards, my power ratings have the spread as being correct. So it would be more of a bet against the public and a belief that Washington will step it up. These are 2 first-year coaches going up against each other. So I would lean Huskies, but no strong take on the game.
Yeah, I'm sort of in the same place. I think definitely Oregon is the better team, and I think the spread reflects that right where it should be. The over-under is high as well as it should be. I think both these teams are going to score, and Oregon is going to really score. So yeah, I think it's sitting right kind of where it should be. So it's hard for me to take either team.
Yeah, this is going to be my pick of the week for college football. I'm going to take the Oregon Ducks minus 13.5. Anything under 2 touchdowns, I feel like you're okay with. The Huskies have really, really struggled in this series for basically the last 2 decades. They are 2-14-1 against the spread in the last 17 meetings against Oregon, and 1-7-1 against the spread in the last 9 meetings in Eugene. So they've really struggled on the road in spots. When they've had trouble this year, that's where they found their trouble, is on the road. Just not the same team when they go on the road. And Eugene, at Alton Stadium, that is one of the toughest places to play. And nobody's really playing better offensive football right now than the Oregon Ducks. You got Bo Nix kind of making a push for a dark horse Heisman. They kind of expect him to at least get to go to the ceremony and sit there and watch somebody else win it. I don't think he's got a shot to win it, but they're at least expecting him to go. And I just love what these guys are doing right now. They know they have a lot to play for, trying to win out and maybe slide into that playoff. But I expect them to show up on Saturday night and really, really put it on the Washington Huskies. So anything under 2 touchdowns right here, I'm taking Oregon, and this is my pick of the week in college football.
There you go. Oh, speaking of these big conference title games that are at stake here, we got another one in the Big 12. TCU undefeated in Big 12 play and undefeated overall. They are heading to Texas for a big test against the number 18th ranked Texas Longhorns.
Big night game under the lights there in Austin, 7:30 kickoff time. The Texas is favored by 7, total of 65. So they're basically predicting something like 36-29, something in that neighborhood. And they expect it to be a high-scoring game, as TCU games especially have been pretty much all season. Not a great defense, dynamic offense. Texas, at times good defense, at times not. At times good offense, at times not. We'll see which Longhorn team shows up. From a talent perspective, this is the first year TCU coach against Steve Sarkisian. This is the kind of game Steve Sarkisian was hired to win, not lose. They wouldn't be happy if they lose to their in-state rival from up the road in Dallas-Fort Worth, and especially to Sonny Dykes. So, this is a game Sarkisian needs to win to prove his bona fides there in Austin. The public is about split evenly, both on the money line and on the points. No strong favorite at this juncture. They lean a little bit towards the under, but these Big 12 unders have not been real profitable this year, as I've witnessed myself. So I don't have a strong lean on the game, except I think Texas really needs the win, and I think the talent edge and the power ratings give them that. So if I get to the window, it will be with the Longhorns.
Yeah, for a few weeks now, I was thinking this is the game TCU was going to lose. But as we've gotten closer and closer, the disrespect towards TCU has not subsided whatsoever. Here they are, ranked fourth in the country, undefeated. Finally, after being undefeated, they get put ranked up there towards the top. And again, they're disrespected with a 7-point spread to a lower ranked team that's lost 3 games and they've lost none. And I think they've fed off that disrespect all year long, and they've come back late in games, and they've had the magic when they needed it to come in. I'm not sure it's going to end now. So previously I was looking at Texas. I was leaning towards Texas and thinking this was going to be the first game TCU lost. Now I'm not so sure. I'm not sure that disrespect isn't going to feed into them again and create another win for them.
Yeah, this Texas team is one of the most interesting teams in the country, man. You never know what you're going to get out of these. You go to Kansas State and win straight up against a team that just drubbed Oklahoma State, a team that actually beat Texas. So can't really go by the team that beat the team metric, but I think TCU is going to have some trouble. I think it's going to game day is going to be there. That crowd's going to be ready to go. I look for TCU to possibly win 2 of these last 3 games. I really think they're going to have trouble this weekend at Texas. I think they're going to have trouble at Baylor. And the home game against Iowa State is going to be no easy task either. So I think they have a lot to play for, but when you get to that point, sometimes there's a pressure factor that's added in, and you don't want anybody, you don't want to be that guy that makes the mistakes that cost your team a shot at it. And I don't know. I think I like Texas this week. I really do. I don't think I'm not. If I'm going to do it, maybe on the money line, I'm not going to give up 7.5 to this team that's sitting there undefeated. But I just think they're going to have a lot of trouble this weekend. I think that Quinn Ayers and company, man, when they get to rolling, they're going to have a lot to play for this weekend because they still have an outside shot to get in that Big 12 championship game and maybe win that and go to a big time bowl. One of the bowl projections I saw was actually Tennessee playing Texas in the Sugar Bowl. So they have a lot to play for, man. They really do, and they're a good football team. The games they've lost have been close games, and I like Texas this week. I really do. I'm going to take them on the money line, but I do like the Longhorns.
Big game for TCU. They got a tough schedule down the stretch. There's a couple games that they can lose here. So if they do run the gauntlet, I think they're definitely going to. Yeah, obviously, if they stay undefeated, Big 12 champions, they're going to put them in there. But could be an impressive finish for TCU. Now head into the American Conference, because we do have 2 ranked teams in the American Conference that will be playing this week with the conference championship on the line here. You got UCF heading to Tulane.
Yep, the Gus Malzahn boys going to New Orleans. So we'll see how that works. Tulane favored by 1.5, total of 54.5 because of their great defense. Basically predicting something like a 28-27 kind of game with a favored Tulane, a slight favored on the money line. The public is betting on the money line towards Tulane, about even on the spread, and they think it will go over, probably because UCF's offense at times has been explosive, though people should remember it's been at times. Tulane's defense has had a way of shutting down even good offenses like they did Kansas State, another run-oriented offense like UCF that basically has a glorified running back at quarterback, Ole Miss transfer Plumlee. So I think I don't have a strong lean on this game aside from I might get to the window with the under if I get there with anything. I think it should be a fun, close, competitive game like the spread reflects.
Yeah. Tulane's never won the AAC. UCF has won it recently, I think back in 2018. But all the momentum is in the green wave here. I mean, they 5 straight conference wins and only one of them single digits. Like they're killing people. But yeah, I look for it to be a close game, but I think Tulane wins this one.
Yeah, but excuse me, I like Tulane right here, man. There's a lot to play for in this game. They're playing for, conference title on the line, or at least a spot in the conference championship game and all that. But, you have a New Year's Six bowl because they're the two highest ranked group of 5 teams. And so there's a lot to play for this weekend. I bet Tulane loves having this game at home, sitting at 8-1. Their only loss is by 3 points. They did lose at home to Southern Miss 27-24. But I like what this Tulane team has been doing. Like Cody said, they've been playing really well of late, really put it on some of the conference foes they've had to play. Got a big win against Kansas State, who's really been one of those teams that, ranked as high as number 13 last week in the CFP rankings. So I like Tulane right here. It's going to be an exciting game. It's what I'm looking forward to. It's going to be fun to watch. But both these teams have really been bringing it lately, so it's going to be fun. So I'm going to take Tulane under a field goal right here just because of the home field advantage.
UCF is 7-1 against them in the last 8 games, by the way, but I still like Tulane.
Yeah.
Go Green Wave.
And that one game that I'm sure all you guys are interested in, a bounce back game for the Tennessee Volunteers. At least that's what they're making a look at against Missouri. Missouri heading to Rocky Top. Anything crazy going to happen here?
Tennessee favored by 20.5, almost 3 touchdowns, total of 56.5, which is a little low for a Tennessee game, but it's because Missouri has been a very good defensive team this year, changed their defensive coordinator, and they went from one of the worst college football defenses in the SEC to one of the best football defenses in the SEC, but their offense has not gone clicking with it despite the Alpha Nerds presence there at the head coaching staff. About 60% of the bets are on Mizzou. Most of the public is betting the over because they're assuming that Tennessee offense will get back to clicking as it has been almost unbeatable all year against anybody not named Georgia. I think Tennessee rolls. I have my power rating has this right about where it is, so I'm not going to be taking it. And the total, I guess, up 56.5 currently. I don't know if I'll get there with an over because Mizzou often can't score. And Tennessee may just sit on this if they get a big lead early, and that's their goal, to get a big lead early. If you like Tennessee, take the first half, if you like the over, take probably the first half over too. Tennessee starts out of the gate fast when they can.
Yeah, I'm in the same exact spot. I think despite Missouri having that good defense, they're not Georgia, and that's the only defense that's shown any capability of stopping Tennessee, and I believe the only one that has the capability of stopping Tennessee. So I think Tennessee rolls here, but again, Mizzou has trouble scoring, so I like that over where it's at, not getting too high with that because I don't think they're going to score a whole lot.
Yeah, I'm going to go on the over here. I think we gave up 24 points to UT Martin. So, I can't imagine that Missouri's offense is that much worse than UT Martin's in that spot. If we do jump out to a big lead, I think we are going to turn it on. I do. I expect to come back. You're not going to have the rain and stuff. We're going to be in Neyland. I expect them to come back out and do what they've been doing all year long. And if they do jump out to a big lead, you're going to get some of the backup guys coming in. And clearly our second and third team defense is no better than our first team defense. So I expect them to maybe pile some points up in trash time or something like that. But I think any Tennessee or Ohio State that you have a total under 60, I think you're supposed to take the over right there. So I'm going to go over 56.5 right here.
Certainly not as many of the marquee matchups as we had last week in college football, but definitely some ones that are going to be very important to determine what this college football playoff looks like by the end of the year. But that is all we got for NFL and for college. So we appreciate all you guys hanging out throughout this entire thing. Robert, tell everybody about sportspicks.locals.com.
So, we put up picks, recommended picks each week. Cricket puts up his additional ideas and picks. Cody puts up his additional ideas and picks. We have other members of our board who are handicappers themselves and developing their own system. So you get lots of feedback and third-party opinions and a range of information. It is the most affordable and most profitable handicapping service out there, basically $10 a month. If you want an annual subscription, you get a 2-month discount. You will not find a better deal out there. Last year, our members doubled their money. This year, profits up over 50%. So if you like making money, if you like sports, if you just want to contribute your own content, you can do it at sportspicks.locals.com.
Awesome. And thank you as well to Cody and Cricket always for joining us. We appreciate the hell out of you guys. I know we got some people in the chat giving you guys a little shit for Tennessee.
That's all right. A lot of football left.
TCU must lose. That's all.
A lot of football left.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know if Cricket was a bigger fan of Texas or a bigger fan of TCU losing.
I got losing.
I got a
you lose. Nobody likes horned frogs. No.
Yeah, what the hell is even that? What's all
Exactly.
like? Come on.
Horny frogs football team? I don't think so.
I love Longhorns, Bears, and Cyclones, man. I'm
Exactly.
a huge fan.
There you go. But chat, thank you for joining us. We appreciate the hell out of you guys. We will talk to you next week. The Greg, real quick, has to get one in there. UCLA.
I think
Tennessee.
don't we have a football winning record against them? Just saying.
The over-under would be like 90 in that game, for the record.
Yeah, that's probably true. That'd be a fun game this year. That'd be a real fun game.
It
was when we played, what's his name? It was the year they finished like number 2. I think we beat them the year before. Then they almost made it to the championship that next year. Lost at the end of Miami, 45-42, I think, in that postponed 9/11 hurricane game.
There you go. Little bit of history right there, but we appreciate the Greg. It doesn't matter how well his team does. He still wants them to fire Chip Kelly because that's what he's wanted for the past 3 years. All right, chat. We will talk to you guys next week. See you later.